Jonny, let's get straight into it. And I'm not talking about the West Ham game. I'm talking about the Liverpool game. How's the excitement? How's the buzzing factor? Are you up at a 10 yet, or are you just gradually getting there?
I think I'm gradually getting there, and each day, each week passing for this game, there's a little bit more excitement. Look, we're up against the best team on the planet. If we're being honest, they've been absolutely unbelievable since Arne Slot's come in, and they can be really poor against Paris Saint-Germain away from home and still grind out a 1-0 win. We've got a very, very difficult task. But maybe it might just be typical Newcastle United when everybody thinks we've got absolutely no chance that we might be able to break the trophy hoodoo. I remember when I spoke last time to you, we were, I think, just waiting for the quarterfinals, and I thought Newcastle have a chance to get the right draw. We got the right draw in the quarters. The semis, we absolutely obliterated Arsenal, and we've got the chance, and that's all you can ask for in a final, a chance, and we've got one.
How's the fan base in general? Are they? I remember when it was like playing in the Conference League final, but it was a bit different because it was easy to focus on that and not so much the league, even though we still had European football to try and get. But when it comes to yourselves, you're still in that Champions League race as well, so you can't really overlook this game, can you? So is it sort of like, is this game like a bit of a barrier to some extent?
It's a bit of a nuisance. Yeah. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's a bit of a nuisance, the game on Monday night. I think the fact that it's a Monday night as well, I think Newcastle fans would have been quite happy with the Saturday 12:30 slot and give us as much time as possible for that game against Liverpool a week on Sunday. However, that's not the case, and we've got to approach it that we have to win. We've got to go to West Ham and win, and it's going to be difficult, very, very difficult. But I think all the attention will be on Wembley as soon as that final whistle's blown against West Ham on Monday night. But I think, if I'm being honest, if the game got postponed for whatever reason, I don't think there'll be many Newcastle fans that'll be that bothered. I think after Liverpool, it will be different. The mindset will be completely different. But as you quite rightly say, we're 2 points off the Champions League places. There's 11 games to go. We're not a million miles away. And if we can get a bit of a run like we did over Christmas and New Year, there's no reason why Newcastle can't be, in the top 5.
In terms of Sunday, are you going to do it?
My heart says yes. My heart says yes, and I've travelled all over for Newcastle United just to see this little bit of success, and a bit like what West Ham fans had. I can't remember the last time you didn't have a trophy before the Conference League, but as a neutral, well, not even a neutral really, I wanted West Ham to win it. And a couple of years ago, I think there were fans. There's certain clubs that you just think, they deserve a little bit of success, deserve a little bit of, having their day. And Newcastle haven't had their day yet. Hopefully, they'll have their day next Sunday. And I think there'll be grown men in tears. I'm sure there was West Ham fans in tears when they beat Fiorentina in the last minute. I'm sure there have been so many people just overwhelmed with emotion because of how important it is. And I think that would be the same if Newcastle can get the job done. So my heart says yes. My head probably, taking the Newcastle side out of it, I think we're probably thinking it's going to be a very, very difficult task. This is a very, very good Liverpool side. But if they're off it and we're, at our best, let's see what happens.
Hopefully PSG gives them a tough game on Wednesday night and tire them out or whatever before the final. I'm rooting for Newcastle in the final. I don't mind saying it. I think, like you said, there's a lot of clubs you look at and you think, go on, I hope you do well. And the same with, Villa went far in the European tournament. I'd be looking at them thinking, I hope you do it. I'm looking at Nottingham Forest, hoping they stay in the top 5 of the Premier League as well. Come May then, what's a good season for Newcastle? When the final whistle goes on the last game of the season, what has to happen for you to say, do you know what? That's been a good year.
I said at the start of the season, even though Newcastle didn't really buy anybody, I said at the start of the season, this side, if they stay fit, can finish in the top 5 and be in the Champions League. That's what I thought. I thought it was good enough to do so. I still think it is good enough to do so, but we've got to keep Alexander Isak fit from now to the end of the season for that to happen. We've got to keep Sandro Tonali fit. And defensively, we need to be a little bit more secure because we haven't really been secure. And at the minute, we're kind of swapping and changing between our 2 goalkeepers, which is not ideal on the EVA Cup final and our last 11 Premier League games. I think we'll just miss out. I do think we'll probably end up getting Europa League or Conference League. Is that a good season for Newcastle? It's probably a step in the right direction. And some will argue saying, yes, it's a very good season considering where we were. But I think with the players that we have in some key areas, I think that we should be aiming a tiny, tiny bit higher. And I don't think that's too wrong to say, if I'm being really honest. We've got, like I say, I actually think we've got the best striker on the planet at the minute. I don't think there's anybody better right now. Erling Haaland's the best goal scorer, but I think Isak as a whole package is the best striker, and I think that is so different. And any team in the planet would love to have him. We're just happy that he's in a black and white top, and if we get an extra year out of him, I think we've done very, very well indeed. But I think the only thing that's stopping Isak from moving is because not many clubs can afford what we want. We probably want around about £150 million. We paid 63, 65 million pounds for him. We're quite in our right to go. Do you know what? We want the best possible return because we know how good he is.
I completely agree with every word you've just said. If you were to fail to qualify for Champions League, would you worry that some of the players in the squad would then perhaps desire for a move away from St James's Park this summer?
It's a good question in the sense that Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon, Sven Botman, some very, very good players there. But I think, as we've said, PSR's a massive Achilles heel for a lot of teams. And Newcastle are okay at the minute with the PSR. They just announced their financial results for last year. We're only £10 million on a loss. That's kind of almost like break even for football right now, if we're being honest. And we haven't spent a lot. We haven't. We spent money on Lewis Hall in the summer, which was £25 million from Chelsea. He was on a loan, and now that was an obligation for a permanent. We bought a young striker from Sheffield United and Willis Sula for £10 million. But we got rid of Elliot Anderson and Yakubu Minter, who we didn't want to sell. But if we didn't sell, we probably would have had a 10-point deduction. You put us in a 10-point deduction, we're in the bottom half, and that couldn't. We just had to sell. So I think everybody will be sniffing around Isak, but I think they'll be put off the price. I think it wouldn't surprise me if we did sell one of our big guns, but I honestly don't know who that could be. It wouldn't even surprise me if we sold someone like a Harvey Barnes, because I think we can still get very good money for Harvey Barnes, and it hasn't really worked out for him in a Newcastle shirt. He's had glimpses, but it's just not been what we've anticipated. So maybe he might be the one that's sacrificed in that respect.
Yeah, I was thinking him and possibly Pope. I know he's just come back from injury. He looked a little bit shaky when he came back. But I can't get over your constant links to someone like James Trafford. You're looking for a keeper when Pope was good. So I think maybe those two would be the two I would expect to leave Newcastle perhaps this summer. When we spoke about Eddie Howe in the past, I keep asking you about it because I feel like whenever I tune into Newcastle world, if you like, there's a constant discussion around him. And I think sometimes you'll play, like when you played Man City away, you barely laid a glove on them, and it was like, oh, we've seen this before with Eddie Howe at Newcastle, where you can get us up there, but can you get us above? And you said to me, he's proven he can get us Champions League football, and he's proven he can get us to a final. He just needs to win that trophy now. Can he do that? We don't know. Well, he's got a bloody good chance of doing it on Sunday. What's your current evaluation? Is it still that? And then if it is, does Eddie Howe sort of rely on beating Liverpool or getting Champions League qualification again?
It depends who you ask. It depends who you ask. You ask the owners.
What's your opinion? I want your opinion.
I want Newcastle to do as well as possible. Newcastle can do both. They can do both, but they're going to have to be very, very good between now and the end of the season. And that is a big, big question mark to the management. However, the management hasn't been backed financially for whatever reason, mainly PSR. Couldn't get anybody in January. Couldn't get anybody in the summer. There wasn't even a sniff of anybody coming in at Newcastle in January. That's how much they were thinking. We'll keep our money for the summer. So that's why I find it quite difficult, because if you just look at the face of it right now, 2 points off the Champions League, a cup final with injuries. We've not had our best centre half all season. We've only had our best central midfielder in Sandro Tonali banned for a year last year, and we've got a fantastic striker who he's getting the best out of. When you look at it like that, you can't really argue. There's certain things and there's certain decisions, and I said this last time, in game I'd like him to change. And I still don't think he's truly got to the finer detail of improving Newcastle in game. I think there's certain times he has, but particularly against the big boys and the big guns, I think there's still that question mark. And I think that's quite fair. I still think he's the right man. I've got no desire for him to leave the football club. I don't think any Newcastle fan really does at all, especially the fact that we're, like I say, win a cup final next week, and then we've got 11 Premier League games left. I think if we didn't have a cup final on the horizon, I think the FA Cup might have been more of a priority. We made 6 changes against Brighton last week, and to lose an extra time, that can happen. Brighton's a very even game on paper. So Eddie Howe, in my opinion, I think is doing an absolutely fantastic job. under very difficult circumstances, losing players he didn't want to leave, bringing absolutely nobody, but still getting the best out of the players who need help. They need, players coming through the door, and the ownership have to back them. They have to back them in the summer. They need to bring in 4 or 5 players who can come in and just vitalize the squad. A bit like what West Ham did year in, year in, just to kind of just keep it going. I think the only position that I don't think West Ham really have strengthened properly is that striking position. And, for Newcastle, we have the best striker on the planet, in my opinion. But Eddie Howe, for me, is getting the best out of a good bunch altogether, but he just needs more players. He needs more players in the summer, and hopefully Newcastle can do that. Right,
from your team to my team, what do you make of West Ham?
I think I said last time, I think it would be nice if he gave Lopetegui a bit more time, but how wrong was I? How wrong was I? Just, I don't watch West Ham every single week, and I'm not saying I'm a West Ham expert by any stretch of the imagination. I kind of looked at Lopetegui's, I suppose, previous record, if you like, and you got to go, do you know what? He's done a pretty good job in most places he's been at. And I actually, like I said to you, I thought it would be a good fit. Completely wrong. I'm not afraid to say that. But I have to be honest, I think bringing Potter in is a breath of fresh air for West Ham. I really, really do. I think he was a standout candidate. I think he needed a West Ham, somebody that he can go in, a bigger club than Brighton, obviously, a club that just needs a bit of, just a bit of energy, and just someone that's got a point to prove as a manager, as a coach. And I think, I don't know whether West Ham fans are like me to say this, but these 11 games don't really matter, if that makes sense. I know you've just come off a win against Arsenal, but you're not going to get relegated. I think unless you go on a really, really good run, which I'm not going to rule out, you're not probably going to be in Europe next season. So Potter can kind of almost look at his squad, identify what he thinks he needs, identify what he doesn't need right now, and get rid of that particular problem in the summer, and almost kind of going, right, our pre-season starts right now. We can have doesn't matter if we finish 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, whatever. We can just start again and kind of go, right, middle of August the 15th, we need to be ready for that first game of the season, whoever that is against. Because I think the fact that you're not going to have European football, which is highly unlikely as we speak right now, you will be one of the teams that people will look at and go, yeah, these could do something this season. Good manager, good players. I'm slightly concerned if I was a West Ham fan about the Paqueta situation. But regardless, I still think West Ham have a lot of quality in other positions that if you add to it sensibly, there's no reason why West Ham can't be looking at, Champions League, Europa League next season, because there's going to be 7 or 8 teams playing 2 games a week most weeks, and it does catch up on you. Look at Aston Villa, fantastic team, but they're sitting in 9th. Yeah. So that just tells you everything.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the extra 2 games in the group stage of the European tournaments have sort of maybe gone under the radar a little bit on the toll it takes on those participating in those tournaments as well. And I agree with you. I think a lot of West Ham fans have looked at this as a pre-season for Graham Potter since he's come in, really, and it's a very rare situation, because usually when you pick up a job in the Premier League, it's because the club either are on the brink of getting relegated, so you're coming in to get them out the relegation zone, or it's a big club and you've got to get them back into European football, but at the minute you're not in those spaces. So to come into a club where you're not necessarily in a relegation battle, but also you're a bit far away from a European race, so just to have comfort for the entire, pretty much the second half of the season, it's a very rare situation to come into, and one that I hope we take advantage of with the reasons you said. And we won't know until the summer, when you will either see a very clear and concise attack of the transfer market, where it's right, like, get these players out like that. We know we want them gone, get them gone, and let's go after these players. Or whether we're doing our business in August, and it would suggest that we wasted this opportunity that we're currently in. Because I remember when West Ham were competing for European spots, but we weren't sure which European tournament we would qualify, if any, which is what you're in now. But as a club, it must be very difficult to plan ahead when you don't know the financial situation. You don't know how much money is coming in, because you don't know which competition you're in. So you've probably got a short list of players you're going to go after if you're in the Champions League, a short list of players if you're in the Europa League, a short list of players if you're in the Conference League, then another list altogether, which is no European football to offer. So we probably can't attract them. We might not have the money for them, so we're going to have to go after this list. So it must be a real headache for planning your transfer strategy. Whereas West Ham right now, we can plan now for the summer because we know what we're in. We're in the Premier League. We know European football, and that's that. Monday night, then. How do you see this one going?
I think it'll be a very, very difficult game for Newcastle. I think the fact that West Ham haven't played for just over 2 weeks since you beat Arsenal, I think that's probably done you the world of good. Having a nice little 2-week break.
We played Leicester.
Of course he did. Yes, he did.
That was a Thursday night, so it's still a week and a half since Leicester to Newcastle.
Yeah, of course. And again, I completely forgot about that. I think it's because the fact it was on its own.
It was crap.
I think that, you know what it is? I'm not a fan of Thursday night Premier League games. That's just my opinion. But
yeah, I don't think many of us are.
No, I think it's like that one night where you just kind of like, do you know what? Watch something else, put the darts on or whatever. Like, you know, you can kind of go back to the football on the Saturday or whatever. But going back to your question, sorry, on Monday night. I think it's probably a difficult one to say in terms from a Newcastle fan point of view, because I'd happily take a point right now. I think, you know, West Ham away at home, I think it's a difficult task for most teams under obviously the new manager. I know it's not gone according upon exactly how he like. I know there was a defeat to Brentford in there.
Yeah.
You know, he probably would have liked a little bit more a good home form, but again, West Ham probably got us at the right time. You know, beating Forest 4-3, and you know, for 10 minutes we were absolutely sensational, but we were holding on for the whole of the second half, and then obviously losing to Liverpool away from home is just standard for Newcastle. Unfortunately, we just have got a horrendous record there. And then Brighton in the FA Cup, as I said, it's a flip of a coin between the two teams right now. I think, and the fact we've got obviously Liverpool in the cup final, it is a massive distraction. This West Ham game, it's almost kind of like, oh, do we have to play it? And I think West Ham should be licking their lips, having the extra time away. You know, getting probably some good training sessions under Potter. Fans will be galvanised under the lights at West Ham. I think the West Ham fans will be, and West Ham as general will be thinking, yeah, we should be getting 3 points here. And that's kind of how I feel that it was in November. I was very confident. I thought Newcastle will do West Ham. Very, very confident that we'd get all 3 points. Even though we played well, we just come off a win against Forest. West Ham a bit all over the place. I'm kind of hoping it'll be the opposite, so that we go 2-0 up and we can relax a little bit. And it's like, oh yeah, we've done that. Get the job done, and then all focus has to be on Liverpool before the international break. So that's the ideal situation. If I'm being realistic, I'd go 1-1. Bit of a boring game. Just get the point, move on, and we'll recap the Premier League after the international break in the cup final.
That game at St James's Park is the best we've played all season under Lopetegui and Potter. We beat Arsenal, so that was a different type of performance still. But that Newcastle way, I thought it was an even first half. We just took our chances and you didn't. But I felt in the second half, I thought we stepped up a gear and took control of the game. And it's like, wow, okay, now look what we can do. And then you were waiting for the same performance to come again. It just never happened. So that you got us on a weirdly our best performance of the season. From a fan standpoint, then, before we wrap up the show, what are you hoping to see Eddie Howe do on Monday? Would you start Isak? Because obviously I know he's been in training all week, but the pictures have come out and he's got like an ice pack attached to his leg while he's training or whatever. Would you wrap him up in cotton wool, or would you unleash him because you need to get the 3 points for Champions League football? Because obviously they've got Gordon out, Hall out for the rest of the season, so already a couple of key players down ahead of that final. So would you play your strongest team, or would you make changes just to try and keep them for that game on Sunday?
I almost want him to play the team that he's going to play against Liverpool if everybody's fit. I think he has to. He has to almost use this game as the blueprint for that. And Alexander Isak will start on Monday. Don't think I'm not having any West Ham fans thinking, just wrap him up, just leave him for Sunday. Everything that's not happening. It's just not happening. He's the best. He's if he's fit and he's ready to play, he starts. As simple as that. And I know Callum Wilson has a fantastic record against West Ham, but if Alexander Isak's fit, Alexander Isak starts.
What do you think he's going to do? If I run through I have 10 outfielders: Livramento, Schär, Byrne, Trippier at left back.
I think you'll see Trippier and Livramento switch. I think Trippier will be right, and I think Livramento will be left back. Yeah,
maybe. Go on.
No, I was just going to say I wouldn't rule out Newcastle playing 5 at the back on Monday night, because if he does that on Monday, I would highly believe that he'll do that against Liverpool, and you might see Emil Kraft come in as the right centre back with Dan Burn at the left centre back, and then Fabian Schär in the middle, because Trippier and Livramento can play wing backs.
Yeah.
and that might help Newcastle. Then if you're looking maybe the midfielder, you're probably looking Bruno, Tonali, and then Joe Linton slightly off the left with Murphy off the right and Isak up front. That's how oh, sorry, no, because it can only have two. I'll put 12 players there. That'll be good. It'll probably be Tonali and Bruno in that middle with Murphy and Isak. I think Joe Linton, as much as I want him to start, I think he'll probably end up playing out on the left hand side.
Interesting. I thought he would have kept his 4-3-3, and I was going to ask who's more likely to play on the left end. Would he bring Barnes in, or would he move Joelinton forward and bring Willock in? But it's been a while since we've seen Joelinton in the attacking role, but I think I prefer Willock over Barnes, if that makes sense.
It gives you a lot of energy, Willock. Gives you a lot of energy.
I like him.
It gives you a lot of energy. I think he could give you more. I think sometimes his decision making's a bit poor. Barnes, you look at his stats this season, he's not a million miles off an Anthony Gordon this season and a Jacob Murphy, but that was like pretty much at the start of the season. He's in a bit of a purple patch. But look, Harvey Barnes
has a goal against us. Barnes likes scoring against us. He scored when you came from behind to beat us at St James's. Barnes was the catalyst, and I still remember. I think it was his first ever goal for Leicester City was against West Ham. I think because I seen him on loan at West Brom and I really liked him. Leicester recalled him in the January transfer window, played us, and he scored. I could have that slightly wrong, but I remember it. And the reason I remember it very well because he was like 13-2 to score any time. That's a bloody big price for a guy who's been doing really well in Championship, and he scored. So there you go. Barnes against West Ham, loves it. Anyway, Johnny, thank you so much, and genuinely, best of luck next week. I will be rooting for you. I won't quite be having a barcode shirt on or anything like that, but I will be hoping that you can do it against Liverpool.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for you guys for joining us at home. If you would like to hear and see more of Johnny, features on Newcastle Fan TV, I'll put a link to his personal Twitter in the description below, so you can go and give him a follow. If you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like, comment by clicking thumbs up. Sky New Time to chat myself and Johnny. Well, we'll catch you next season.
See you later.